All right, welcome to this week's Washaholic Wednesday. I'm going to talk to you about supply, demand, and what is helping us create the supply and why we're running out of products and why service can't be done, all those kind of issues. And don't forget to hit the like button if you like what I have to say. And please feel free to comment throughout the video. Always like to see your feedback. And hit that subscribe button so you see our future content, and hit the bell so you get the notification when we post. So what I'm going to talk about has to do with why we're having issues getting supplies in and why there's such a problem for service providers to get the products they need to be able to provide their services. Regardless of which end of the spectrum you're on, being a manufacturer, a distributor, or a service provider, you're having issues in every industry out there. And for the most part, I'm going to try to relate this as much as I can to the power washing industry because that's what we do. But let me start off, I'm going to get somewhat basic here, and then I'm going to build out a model so I can show you. So first off, we have raw materials that we need to create a product. And excuse my handwriting, I'm not, the expert of handwriting here, but you'll know what I'm doing. So raw materials to build things. So say a pump or a machine, or an accessory, all those things that we do to create the product so you guys can do the work out there, you recreate or comes from raw materials. And then we have labor. So regardless if we're providing a service or building it, we need the labor to do it. So we need these two things to either create a product or a service. You got to have those. And then as businesses, we want to build these out to create the products or services. We see the opportunity, or business owners, or those that are trying to create jobs and employment for others, are the businesses that take both of these and then they create a product or service and put it out to a consumer, which is the demand for the product or the service. They're the demand that pulls in these things. And business is always looking for that demand that the consumer has so they can produce a product. So what does this mean? This means that when we create products and services here, business does it, and then the consumers buy it, right? Pretty simple stuff. But what happened during our shutdown is that the government, for reasons of public health and security and other things, during COVID, shut the economy down. So what does that do? We have this abundant supply of raw materials and labor. And I'm going to talk about this in global sense. When I say global, I mean all over the world, not just the US, when I say raw materials and labor, because it's everywhere. Everybody has raw materials and labor. There were shutdowns all over the place that the government created. So we have this abundance up here, and I'm going to draw this in a funnel shape, and then I'm going to come back out because right now we have this huge demand down here. And let me put demand here instead of over here. And then I'm going to, right here, supply, because we're trying to create, actually, let's move supply right here. Okay, that'll make more sense. I'm trying to diagram this and do this in such a way so it makes sense when you see it. And then raw materials and labor, they're sitting right here in this space, right? So they sit here. Both of those sit right there in that space. And as a business, we are creating the supply to give and fulfill the demand. That's what business does. And we do a great job of that when we have enough raw material and labor. But what happening is right now is that the government has created restrictions during the shutdown. Now I'm talking about the US, and in their wisdom chose to create subsidies and all kinds of other things for businesses, for labor, for the people at home. I mean, all kinds of dollars to go in all different areas of the economy. I'm not going to get into all that and how that happened as much as I'm going to talk about what is happening now with the demand, and the demand being so large and there being such a short supply, and there still being a ton of raw materials and ton of labor out there to do things. Because of the shutdown, the supply got eaten up for certain products that are needed for producing products. So we had these raw materials making the supply, and the production of even those got pulled back. And so when this demand jumped back up real quick and took off, we don't have the raw materials anymore. What I think is probably the biggest issue that we see right now, especially in the power washing industry, any service industry, and any ability, and not just service industry, but manufacturers, is their ability to get labor. Because the government has not pulled back on the subsidies and the unemployment benefits that are going to this labor pool right here, and it's keeping the labor pool from going back into the workforce. Because in all the groups I'm a part of and all the business owners that I talk to, everybody is commenting on the number of people who are signing up or saying they'll come to a job interview and don't show. They're also commenting on the number of people that actually come in and say, I'll work for you for cash because I don't want these benefits to stop. I'm not making this stuff up. Unfortunately, what that does is it bottlenecks the ability for business to create the supply to feed the demand. And that's going to continue to happen for a while. As of right now, it will continue to happen until September, because as an employer, when we saw the last benefits run out, there was a spike in the number of people that were applying for the jobs that we had open. It jumped dramatically. And then when they came back again, it dropped. And then this time when it dropped even more. It's even worse. Why is that? Because there's more demand. There's more need for labor to be working right now. So we're having a harder time finding employees to fill positions so that we can get things produced. That's going to continue as of now until September, unless something happens with the federal government to pull back these things. My main point was to help you understand what's going on right now with this whole supply and demand part, and how the short supply is actually increasing. The next thing, we're seeing it already, is actually increasing the inflation. So we're seeing more inflation because we can't keep up. So originally I talked in a video I did earlier, well, probably around this time last year, maybe in March of last year. I did a video that talked about how we were going to start seeing inflation because of all the money that was being put into the economy from the government by increasing our monetary supply so dramatically. We've never seen that ever in our country, that increase in monetary supply. That alone would lead different theorists and theories to conclude that we're going to see inflation. What I didn't know at the time, and I've learned since, is that it's actually possible not to see really extreme inflation if we're able to produce and keep up with demand. But as we're seeing now, we can't produce, and we're not going to be able to keep up with demand. So prices will go up. We are going to see inflation. We've already seen it dramatically in the construction supplies, building supplies for homes and stuff like that. If you're in the building industry, you know this already. And a lot of us work around people that are in the building industry because we're power washing in residential areas and things like that. And we know of people who are wanting to build a home, and you can get the products, but they're extremely expensive, and they're going up not just by a small percentage, but by multiples, 2, 3, 4 times, which is a scary thought, a very scary thought. And then if you start thinking about that across all the sectors, we're going to be in trouble if we can't if we can't open up this funnel right here and get this more like that and reduce that bottleneck. If that bottleneck doesn't come, we've got bigger and bigger issues coming. I'll do this in red because that's the scary part. I shouldn't have done it on top of the black, but I did. Messed up my ink. So that's where we are. If we can get back to this, we'll be in good shape. If we can erase those lines there, then we'd be good. I think that'll make sense to you when I talk about it that way. So now you see it's opening up, business, labor's back at it, and then we got to get this to stop all these unemployment benefits that are pushing the labor force not to work. Now I get, I'm not trying to say that people don't deserve to get benefits, but I'm saying people who can work should be working. I don't know, that's not my job, but I'm able to provide, and I'm going to do it. That's just a core value for me and my way of looking at life. But what I am going to say is that as a country, it's super, super important that we're able to produce, because you can't have, no country survives any length of time without a strong economy, period. It's just not going to happen. We have to have a strong economy. All the programs and everything else we do to help those that live within our country come from having a strong economy. So if we destroy the economy, we're going to destroy the country. I am getting a little political there, because I think it's important for people to understand that and realize that you've got to have a strong, productive, and producing economy to be a strong country. It always comes down to that. And I actually learned that in college from a political science professor that was very, very liberal, to be honest. She taught me that. Anyway, get the economy going, keep the economy strong, figure out what it takes to get labor to work. We've got everything else. We've got the demand. We've got the raw materials. We need the labor. The labor has to be there. So that's why we're having a hard time getting supplies, getting things out. That's what's causing it. I don't know what else to say. And if you agree, disagree, hey man, tell me in the comments below. I'd love to hear your comments back. I'd love to hear what you have to say, what might help, what won't help. But anyway, that's this week's Washaholic Wednesday. I'm Mike Hinderliter, the Power Washer. I'm Mike Hinderliter, the Dean of Power Wash. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you see future notifications. Take care, and I'll see you next week.